Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Xiaoling, and in today's video I'll be talking a little bit about the PC Hitman beta and my impressions of it. If you're interested in seeing what options are available in the PC version of the game, along with how it performs, you can check out my other video here that covers that in more detail. Hitman is, as the name suggests, a game where you play a hitman by the name of Agent 47, who is tasked with assassinating a specific target or targets on any given level by any means necessary. I've spent about 9 hours with the game so far and feel that I've played enough of the game to get a good idea of how I feel about it and what we can likely expect from the full release. So first up, I'm going to be talking about what was in the beta as well as some of the basic mechanics. So the beta consisted of missions included in the prelude to the main game. Now these prelude missions take place before Absolution, I believe, and the missions that come with launch take place after Absolution. Do correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. The first of the two maps was a yacht on which there was a party being hosted, so there were a lot of NPCs around, and this map served as somewhat of a guided tutorial where the game would walk you through each aspect of the game until you completed your first mission. And after you completed that, you could play through the map again as many times as you wanted, trying different approaches. And the second mission took place on a military base. Now both of these missions had challenges, which consist of killing the target in a variety of different ways, or finding certain outfits and using certain items and whatnot. The second map had more of these than the first yacht map, and these challenges at least, were broken down into 5 categories, 3 of which were available in the beta. Also, something that is introduced to the second map are opportunities. These are basically conversations or items that lead you along a chain of objectives which result in a unique opportunity to kill your target, if I could describe it that way. And these opportunities are also included as challenges in the challenges section of each map. Now the challenges add a degree of replayability to each of these maps, since they encourage you to try different things and complete the mission in a variety of different ways, by using certain items, objects and disguises and whatnot. There was also a leaderboard tab, but it wasn't active in the beta, so I'm not sure if it's going to be time-based or score-based. So disguises have always been a large part of Hitman, and unlike Absolution, however, when you're wearing a certain disguise, not every person of that class, so when I say that class, I mean if you're dressed up like a policeman, not all policemen can see through it. Only the head officer or the head honcho of that particular class and specific NPCs, and these can be identified by the white dots that are above their heads. The other bonus now of disguises in the game is that certain disguises can only access certain parts of the map. So for example, in the yacht map, you can't actually get on the yacht if you're not dressed up either as someone who's been invited to the party or one of the staff. But when you're playing the technician, for instance, you only have access to the first floor and deck 0 of the yacht. And the moment you try to go upstairs, the police officer will tell you, no, you can't go up here, only the yacht crew can go up here. So if you dress up in a yacht crewman outfit, you are then granted access to all 3 floors of the boat. But when you're dressed up as the crew, your target can actually recognize who you are. The only 2 disguises on the first map, for example, where no one can spot who you are, is if you dress up as one of your target's bodyguards, or is if you dress up as Norfolk, the guy that your target is supposed to meet up with. So getting to my point, the disguises allow you to access different aspects of the maps. So if you are in range of one of these head honchos, a meter will start building up, and you have a short amount of time to avoid them if you see that happening. If they spot you, they'll get suspicious and they'll come searching for you. If you avoid them for long enough, they'll just forget you were there and go back to their usual routine, as is the case with most stealth games. Instinct is back in this iteration of the game, but you no longer use it to hide as you did in Absolution. It's used mainly as a means of spotting all the people on the map, including your target, who will be marked with red, and all the NPCs that can identify you, so they'll be the ones marked with white dots above their head, and usable items and objects and all that kind of thing in the environment. You can also, when in the disguise, use certain locations to blend in, at which point even the head honchos of those particular classes won't see through your disguise as long as you're using that particular item. Hiding bodies or hiding yourself in cupboards and other locations is back as well. Each location can basically store 2 people, so that includes yourself. So if you stuff 2 bodies into a freezer or a cupboard or something and you want to hide, you won't be able to hide in that one because you can't actually take the bodies out. So you do need to think about where you plan on hiding and also where you plan on storing the people you subdue. There are also a variety of weapons and items that can be picked up. Some are good for using as distractions, others for non-lethal takedowns, and others for lethal takedowns. And the location of items in the game, as well as the NPCs, where they are and where they patrol, also remain the same every playthrough. So obviously there is a stealth system in the game. You can sneak around and take cover behind objects and walls. The cover system for the most part is fine. I didn't come across any instances where it wanted to make me pull my hair out. However, it did seem a bit odd that you automatically wrap around corners. At first it seemed like a strange decision, but after some getting used to, the ability to fluidly move around objects was actually quite useful, as opposed to having to press a key every time to switch to another corner of the cover. There is no walk button in the game, so often I found myself having to keep stopping and starting walking when I was trying to follow a target. I think it would have been nice if there was an option to either match your target speed or at least walk the same speed as the NPCs. So moving on to the inventory system, it felt kind of cumbersome. You press I, the game pauses, and then you cycle through your items, and then you left click to select the item you want, and then you go back into the game. It felt somewhat jarring to me to be removed from the game every time I needed to change an object. I found it a little bit immersion breaking, but I mean it wasn't too much of a big deal, but I think it would have been nice to be able to cycle through your inventory without having to go onto a pause screen. The controls for the most part felt fine. The shooting felt a little bit awkward in this aspect of the game, especially if you come from a more competent third-person shooter. I understand that Hitman isn't a third-person shooter, it's a assassination stealth game, and it could just be because I wasn't used to it, considering the majority of the game is spent not getting into firefights, not getting detected or setting off alarms. So all in all, I'd have to say that I had a great time with the Hitman beta outside of the performance issues I mentioned in my other video. And I'm actually pretty excited for the full release of the game. There are some concerns though. IO Interactive have chosen to release the levels in an episodic fashion, well at least 3 of the levels, and some people are concerned that the game won't hold people's attention for that amount of time between the release of each of these levels. I mean, if we look at the launch infographic here on the screen, we can see there are 6 campaign missions, 3 sandbox locations, 40 signature kills, and contract mode with 800 targets, with weekly live hits and events. I'm sure that the initial launch will keep people busy for the month. I think that that's going to be a good chunk of hours of gaming right there. Then when the first map launches in April, it just says new missions, 3 additional sandbox locations, new signature kills, new contract modes, and weekly live hits and events. They don't say how many new campaign missions. We know there's going to be 3 sandbox locations over the course of 3 months. Perhaps 1 mission per each or 2 missions per each. Basing off the price, we're paying just over half for the first batch of content. I would imagine that maybe there's 2 campaign missions for each of these sandbox locations in the second 3 months of content. But they don't mention how many new signature kills or how many more contract modes there are going to be in that. But I think it gives developers the time to fine-tune their levels, maybe optimize and create the levels that they really want to create, as opposed to being forced to release unfinished content. No names are going to be mentioned here, but that seems to be a growing trend nowadays. And I also think that this allows people who are unsure not to have to pay full price. They'll get a fair amount of content for the initial intro pack purchase. And if they do enjoy that content, they can just purchase the upgrade pack. Or people who know what they're getting into can just purchase the full experience. I mean, the price difference between buying the intro and the upgrade pack and the full experience is about $5. I'd say that if you enjoy the original Hitman games, and you like stealth games, you'll probably really like Hitman. I enjoy both the aforementioned types of genres, and I absolutely loved Hitman. I think even for people who are new to the franchise, you won't have too much trouble getting to grips with the game mechanics. I found this quite easy to pick up and enjoy actually. As I mentioned earlier, the performance is probably my biggest concern, but beta is beta, and I hope what issues I found in the beta will stay in the beta. And IO, please make sure there are audio options in the final release. Anyways, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the section below. And that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks very much for watching. I've been Xiaoling, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, welcome back to In Perspective. Xiaoling here, and in today's episode we're going to talk about my impressions of the PC version of The Division beta. I'm Xiaoling, and in today's video I'll be reviewing Firewatch. As with many people, I don't really like the numbering system used for reviews, so you won't